How's it going, Ram fans? Welcome back to Monday Night Sports. I'm Madeline Davis.
And I'm Ella Fredrickson, back as always to keep you updated on all things happening in Rams athletics. From a busy week for the guys in the green on the court,
to Cam breaking down how the Rams got it done in the second border war matchup of the year.
And of course, how could we forget about Out of Pocket, which is back for yet another week to offer up some points of contention over the MLB. All of that and more on CTV Sports, which tips off right now.
After yet another home win in front of a sellout crowd in the second court storming of the season on Wednesday, following their critical border war dub, the Rams took the bus out to Utah to take on the Aggies all the way in Logan. And after an atrocious start from Utah State, an incredible effort from Kendall Moore, and perhaps the worst broadcast I've ever seen or heard for a D1 college basketball game, the Rams actually ended up on top 66-55 to secure their fourth Quad 1 win of the year. So with all of that in mind, let's take a look at how they grinded out this tough road win against the Aggies. So here we got Isaiah Stevens. He goes over, passes it off to Deshaun Thomas, who sinks it in for three to give the Rams a comfortable lead early on. Now we got Justin Bean. He's double teamed, tries to go up. David Roddy says no, but then goes over the head of Deshaun Thomas to put it in. Gets the Aggies going a little bit. Kendall Moore to Isaiah Stevens, or Stewart, as the broadcast kept referring to him as, getting it done. Same there with Kendall Moore. Kendall Moore was on fire. Incredible. Okay, now we got RJ Idlebach, or is it Baylor Heb? I don't know, and apparently neither did the graphics guy. But whoever it was scored three for Utah State. Isaiah Stevens back over to Kendall Moore, getting it done for three again. This was the Kendall Moore game. We see it again right here. Tips off, it's the breakaway, layup for two. That was an easy one for him. And a little bit of a strange game all around. And the coverage of this game on FS1 wasn't the only thing that was strange about Saturday night's matchup. Let's jump into the numbers to make things even more weird. Starting things off with the team stats, CSU shot an okay 44.2% from the field, but the Aggies basically did the same, going for a 41.2 mark on the offensive side of the net. And moving on to some more shooting numbers, the Rams did do pretty well from behind the arc, going for a 45% clip. But they simply weren't as good from the charity strip, only going 11 for 16, which was a bit uncharacteristic for how well they usually take advantage of fouls. But that performance doesn't even begin to compare to the Aggies' horrible 6 for 18 from the line, which was really the difference maker in this one. Oh, and the Rams also won the battle of the boards 43-26, which is also a little unusual. But hey, in this case, I am not complaining. Individually, the Rams were led by senior point guard Kendall Moore. Yeah, that's right, Kendall Moore, the same guy who scored 0 points against Wyo earlier in the week, going on for a season high 23, which also helped him surpass the illustrious 1,000 career point mark here at CSU. And beyond this amazing effort, David Roddy was right behind him with 13 points and 10 rebounds for his sixth double-double of the season, and Isaiah Stevens, or apparently Stewart, also hit double digits with 11 points and some key buckets late in the second half to help secure the win for the Rams. After this solid Quad 1 win and St. Mary's, a team that CSU blew out at home in non-conference play, beating Gonzaga, the Rams are now essentially in lock status for the NCAA tournament come March, which also means they can finally rest a little bit after what was a very busy February that saw them go a solid 7-1. They'll use this slight layoff to prepare for their final game of the regular season, which is yet another potential Quad 1 matchup in Boise State, this Saturday night at 6:30 down in Moby. I will definitely be there.
Now, Madeline, this was a messy one, but this late in the season, this close to the tourneys, I'm not complaining with a win.
Oh, I do think it was pretty messy. I mean, I think that CSU can thank the fact that Utah State was like 10 minutes into the game and they'd scored like not even 10 points. I mean, it was ridiculous.
That and their free throws looked like my high school basketball team shooting free throws.
Oh, Utah State was absolutely terrible from the line. I mean, that was the one thing the broadcasters actually got right in that matchup. But I don't know. A win is a win. That's all I got to say.
But on to some not so good news. Moving on to some more college hoops. The Lady Rams took on UNLV over the weekend just across campus in Moby Arena for their final home matchup of the year. And not only did this one have important ramifications for the upcoming Mountain West tournament, but CSU was also celebrating their graduating seniors on Senior Day. And man, could you see the immeasurable emotion and excitement this team came out onto the court with. Planning to get back into the win column after a disappointing L against SDSU on State Pride Night. And of course, an upcoming conference tourney to prepare for. So with all of that in mind, how'd the Rams do? Well, let's just say not so hot, going down 80-69 against the visiting Lady Rebs in decisive fashion. Now, if you have watched me on just one Monday night sports show, you know that I am not the first to defend CSU Sports, but tonight I am actually going to for once, for the most part. The green and gold came out incredibly strong in the first half, scoring 20 in the opening quarter yet again, while also managing to keep the shooting percentage on the other side at a questionable 30%. And sure, while they were outscored by the visiting Rebels by 1 in the second quarter, it wasn't enough to shave the deficit just yet, putting CSU in a pretty good position at the half, up 41-36. Now, I believe all of us here are on the same page at this point. Rams basketball, and more specifically the women, have a really tough time playing a whole game. And as much as I hate being right in this case, that's exactly what we saw in the third quarter. Only 23% of their shots dropped, the defense was non-existent, and we missed half of our free throws, and drumroll, please, all of this, of course, piled up to lead to a mere 10 points in the third, while yes, also resulting in 25 on the other end. So by the end of this terrible quarter, the green and gold found themselves down 10. And with how shell-shocked they looked out there, it's pretty clear why they weren't able to muster any sort of comeback effort in the fourth, leading to a massive, massive L. So after this disappointing end result, the Rams now stand at 9-8 in the Mountain West Conference, putting them at the 6th spot as of now in the standings, while UNLV, on the other hand, improved to an amazing 15-2 with the dub, firmly digging their heels into that number 1 spot. To talk about the numbers real quick, Kendall Kinzer carried this squad on Saturday, racking up a career-high 21 points, which was almost, sadly, a third of the total points for CSU. Oh, and she also helped out down low with 5 boards as well, while Curly Murphy put in another solid effort with 13 points and 12 by the glass. And now past this one, with a nice little break after their back-to-back L's, the Lady Rams won't face off on the court again until their trip to Laramie on Wednesday, hoping for a season sweep of the Pokes and obviously some redemption along the way.
Going from the court and onto the track now, the Rams were at the Mountain West Championships for indoor track and field this past weekend. And let's just say, I think the women will be pretty pleased with their final results. The Rams headed into the final day of competition with a comfortable 9-point lead and never looked back, ending things out with a total score of 151, which was needless to say well ahead SDSU's 112. And the impressive dub down in Albuquerque also means this: CSU's 5th indoor Mountain West title in school history and 4th since 2016. Now that's pretty impressive if you ask me. And now onto how exactly they got it done. With no surprise, 2021 Olympian Lauren Gale received Mountain West Outstanding Performer of the meet, where she compiled 20 total points and won both the 200 and 400 meter races. Oh, and she also set a Mountain West record in the 400 in the process, with a time of 51.78, while also shattering her own school record in the 200 with a time of 23 seconds flat. Gale was the 3rd woman in her history to sweep 2 events at the conference meet, and was the first to do so since 2005. And don't forget about the others, too. Fort Collins native Gabby McDonald also took home the gold in her event, thanks to a 53 feet, 3.5 inch throw in the shot put, which marked the 3rd gold in a row for CSU in the event, and the 7th time they've taken home the win in shot put since 2014. And so when it was all said and done, head coach of the Rams, Brian Bedard, was obviously named MW Women's Indoor Track and Field Coach of the Year, which marks yet another common occurrence for this program. Now the 3rd time Bedard has taken home those honors here at CSU, not to mention making it the 13th overall time in his career that he's earned that title. After all of this success down in New Mexico, the Rams now shift their focus to Birmingham for the NCAA Championships on March 11th and 12th before a short break to get ready for the outdoor season, which begins on March 25th down in Pueblo at the Spank Blazing Invite. Hopefully this amazing team can close out their season strong.
That track and field talk out of the way, let's finally get into something that I have honestly been dying to report on as of late. CSU Softball, which has quickly been getting up to speed, including last week's Lopes Classic, where they opened a 5-game slate against Colgate and GCU. To get into full swing with the action, Game 1 started out hot for both sides, with runs being put on the board in both the top and the bottom of the first, and the green and gold in the lead early thanks to a Haley Smith 3-run RBI. But although they started things off strong, this early 3-1 deficit for the Raiders didn't last long, thanks to 3 scores in the second to take the lead, 4-3 over CSU. But regardless of this early hole for the green and gold, though, number 18, Ashley York, gave the Rams exactly the spark they needed to run away with this one, stealing home to tie things up at 4 apiece late in the third, and just 2 innings after this initial separation, the Rams offense went off again, putting up 5 more hits and an extra 4 runs to add to their lead, which all ended up combining to result in a 12-4 Rams dub. But as I said at the top, that was just the first of 5, and clearly number 2 told a completely different story for CSU. This time losing the grip they had on GCU in the game's earlier stages, and in the end, closing the seventh with an L, just 2-4. And looking at the game even further, even though Grand Canyon managed to get on top of things and take the lead in the first, the green and gold took it right back in the fourth, scoring 2 runs on 2 hits with the help of an Antelope's error, leaving them with a 2-1 advantage entering the fifth. Unfortunately, as I said earlier, this just wasn't enough for the Rams, with 2 Lopes getting on base late in the sixth, thanks to a homer from GCU's Kristen Field, which quickly turned things into a 2-run deficit for CSU, and at the end of the day, proved to be too much for this Rams squad. And moving right past that one, Game 3 and 4 looked relatively similar to CSU's matchup against Colgate, with the green and gold striking early enough on offense to put the nail in the coffin, not to mention also holding UIW and UP to a combined 14 hits in their 2 wins on Saturday. Now, Game 5, on the other hand, did that even happen? There's not much to mention in that final game other than that it was a pitcher's battle up to the final minute, with only a combined 13 hits and, worse than that, only 1 run. With that in mind, it obviously went to the top of the 8th, scoreless until Danielle Serna managed to drive in Ashley York on an RBI double, making the final score in this one 1-0 with the Rams on top. And ending things out with the final stats real quick, the team leaders for most of the weekend on the CSU side were consistently Ashley York and number 4 Ashley Michelena. And although York was the one who ended up driving in 4 on Saturday, what I love about her running mate Ashley Michelena is her ability to get on base and stay there. Those runs would not come in if it wasn't for her consistent on-base percentage. Hopefully, she can keep this early season surge up in the Rams' next outing right here on campus in the Colorado Classic, which is coming up right this weekend, and I cannot wait to be there.
And with that, Rams, now it's time for a very quick break.
When we come back, Cam breaks down how the Rams got it done in the second edition of this year's Border War. Stick around.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
So welcome back to Cam's Corner. I'm your host, Cameron Evig. So after a 2-0 week, CSU basketball is all but a complete shoo-in for March Madness come next month. See just how they shut down the best duo in the Mountain West last Wednesday night in the first out of those 2 dubs last week. All that and more on Cam's Corner, starting right now. Now we all know CSU's biggest rival is the Colorado Buffaloes, but ever since CSU has actually had good sports, CU has been nowhere to be found since their last win against the Rams at the Rocky Mountain Showdown, over 2 years ago. And man, do I wish that they would consider playing the Rams in basketball again. That's all I'm saying. But beyond that, as we know, the Rams' second biggest rival, or if you ask Pokes fans, their biggest, is to the north from the land of Wyoming. And as such, on Wednesday, another Border War Classic went down in Moby. The Rams came into this one down 0-1 in the season series after losing to Laramie in overtime late last month. In that matchup, the combo of Hunter Maldonado and Graham Ike absolutely dominated the green and gold, combining for 51 of the Cowboys' 84 points, with Maldonado leading the way with 35. But in the second time around, though, the typical scoring script for the Pokes was completely flipped on its head, looking much different after the Rams clearly came in ready to shut down the deadly duo from the north, holding the two to just 12 combined points down at Moby in front of a whiteout crowd this time around. That's right, two of the best players, not only in the Mountain West, but in the nation, were held to only 12 points. I still can't believe it. But hey, let's give CSU some credit here. This amazing performance on defense wasn't a fluke at all. And it's clear that the Rams, led by headman Nico Medved, clearly came in with a different game plan for this second meeting. Here's what Nico had to say about their plan against these two superstars for the rematch.
James Morris was awesome because, I mean, he plays so hard, he played so physical, he really tried to battle to keep the ball out of his hands. You know, wherever we were coming from to help, I thought he did a great job of forcing him into the help. Our guys were rotating aggressively, and, you know, when you do that, you're going to leave some guys open, and they did make us pay. But, again, we just made the decision going into the game we were not going to let those two guys shoot shots. We were going to try to make other guys shoot shots, and you know, tonight it worked.
So, with Coach's words in mind, let's break down exactly how the Rams were able to shut out not one, but two All-Mountain First team players at the same time. As we see here, they came in with a clear plan right off the bat. The first possession of the game for Wyoming, Deshaun Thomas playing really good defense on Graham Ike. Look at David Roddy, though. Always just posturing in that paint area. As soon as Ike turns, Roddy's right there. A contested three-point shot, and you're okay with that if you're the Rams. Making somebody besides Ike and Maldonado take a shot is what you're okay with. And I threw this in here just for good measure. Dominant bucket here by David Roddy. Gets the board, loses it around 4 pokes, still goes back up and finishes his own bucket. But back on the defensive end, as we see, it's not just Graham Ike that they're trying to shut down. Hunter Maldonado also is getting the same treatment. Isaiah Stevens this entire time is just going to posture just slightly towards Hunter Maldonado just so that he knows that he's there with the presence. Maldonado drives in. Kendall Moore with great defense. Isaiah Stevens with a reach-in, able to make it a tough shot. Once again, Ike on the block. Look who's in the middle. David Roddy on the rotation, making every shot hard for him. One more time. James Moore this time. The spin comes left. David Roddy is there again. Graham Ike must have had nightmares of David Roddy in the paint after this game. And right here, once again, Hunter Maldonado, same thing. You can't run from the double team either. Hunter backing down David Roddy. Isaiah comes for the double. One pass to Jeffries, one more to Odin. But you're okay with Odin taking wide open threes because it's not Hunter Maldonado or Graham Ike. Shut down Graham Ike and Maldonado was clearly the game plan tonight. And right here, when you're David Roddy and you're one of the best defenders in the Mountain West, sometimes you don't need a double team. Get that out of here. Roddy swats that ball completely away from the best center in the Mountain West. And on this side, nothing fancy here. Look at James Moore's this whole play, though. Another way to shut down Graham Ike. Don't let him touch the ball. James Moore's does a phenomenal job this whole play denying the ball from Ike, not even letting him get a touch, which is so vital for this Pokes offense. Nothing there. A drive down the middle of the lane, contested floater that does not go. CSU came out this game and had a plan. Shut down Graham Ike, shut down Hunter Maldonado, and that's exactly what they did. And with all that breaking down in mind, it is clear to see that the Rams and Medved knew exactly what was coming, executed their game plan to perfection, and adjusted along the way. And well, Rams, that's all I got for you tonight, but stick around for Out of Pocket and some game picks right after this.
Queen is just my everything. Right now, I wouldn't know where my life would be without her.
They say chivalry's dead. It's not. Terrence is a gentleman. He opens doors. His smile did it. His smile, his eyes, his knowledge. My landlord, he decided that he wanted me to move based on the fact that I was transgender. It takes me to a place of no hope. It takes me to a place of loneliness. It saddens me. When you discriminate against somebody in housing, where do these people go? Let's just respect people in everyday life for just being human.
What's up, Ram fans? Welcome back from the break and to, yes, some more Out of Pocket. We've been doing this for weeks and weeks now, so you already know the drill. Let's just jump right into our scorching hot take for the night. So this one is going to make the biggest baseball fan I know, aka Madeline, really, really mad, but I don't think it's out of line to say that baseball is clearly a dying sport, especially with how the stalemate between the owners and players is continuing to shake out. You two agree?
I'll take the lead on this one here. And as much as I absolutely love baseball, Rob Manfred is terrible. He is terrible for the sport. He obviously does not care. He doesn't care about the players. He doesn't care about the fans. Most of all, he doesn't care about the employees. Like, these poor employees. Baseball's been in a lockout for what, like 3 months now?
December.
Yes, It's absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, they could have been doing negotiations this whole time, and they started a couple weeks ago, and they made the deadline today. They made the deadline today, and they said if things don't happen today, they're gonna cancel regular season games. And nothing happened. So, is opening day March 31st?
No.
Nope.
No.
It's not. And literally, it's Rob Manfred and greedy owners like Dick Monfort, my least favorite owner in the MLB, literally the owner of the Rockies, but he is the worst. He sucks.
Horrible.
And he doesn't care about the fans or the employees or anything. And it's so sad for people like me who absolutely love baseball. I mean, this is literally what I look forward to the most every single year. As soon as it stops, I set a countdown on my phone, and all I wait for is baseball season to start again. And now it's not going to start on time, and it's so disappointing. What are you guys thinking?
I'm gonna intrude here before you start crying, because I know that this is sad for you, but for me, you look at it, at least it's baseball, right? No, I'm just kidding. Of course we have to talk about baseball. And for me, it's like being in Colorado, I haven't had the biggest connection with baseball as I've had the other sports, because the Rockies have been terrible since 2008.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
They've been either terrible or okay.
2018,
since 2008.
they had to go to game 163 against the stupid Dodgers.
Since 2008.
And they almost won
since 2008.
the NL West.
And
almost won.
Because of that, I'm not a huge baseball fan, but for me, the thing that gets me is, you heard it that last Thursday, I believe it was, they had a meeting, and it lasted 10 minutes.
It was 15 minutes, actually.
15,
give them a little bit of credit.
15-minute meeting after a lockout of your entire league, and you're going to talk for 15 minutes? There is an issue there that they need to address. Baseball is dying, and in 10 or less years, it could be totally not even a professional sport anymore if they don't do something about it.
I know personally, if I were to show up somewhere for 15 minutes, I would have just preferred an email.
Right.
I would have just,
Wasted my time.
if you are going to waste money, time, just employees in general, because you don't care enough to continue the season and do what is right and talk to people about this, just send an email. It is already so disrespectful to all of the players, to all of the fans, to everybody who works hard to make this league a league. And they are just destroying it. Arguably, you could say this about most professional sports, but MLB has clearly made it is just about the money.
Another level.
It is just about the money. That's all there is to it. And for whatever reason, they just don't care. I mean, Madeline said most of it with more emotion than I would personally, but Madeline covered, I would say, a good amount of how we're feeling about the baseball being a dying sport.
Yeah, I think it's just, uber wealthy people who are greedy. But all right, that's enough talk about baseball. It's just, making me a little depressed. As you can see, I'm about to cry on air. So let's just move forward and on to our game picks for this week. As you can clearly see here, I kept the faith last week and picked the Rams to take down Wyoming. And as you heard throughout the show, that is exactly what they did. So yes, not only is Ella still in last place, but now I'm actually in the lead. Will Ella ever get out of the basement? No. Who knows? And hopefully, with how I picked tonight, I can keep up my winning streak and stay at the top. So with my dominance in mind, let's get into what the obvious pick for our first game this week. The Rams host Boise State Broncos for a rematch of their game back on Super Bowl Sunday. And I get it. It's hard to beat a team as good as CSU twice in 1 year. But still, do you guys think CSU could earn the season sweep on Senior Day? Because personally, I do. I think that CSU is playing really strong at home lately, and they also get a whole week off. I mean, Boise's playing Nevada, so it's not like a super great matchup, but I do think that in general, CSU has a little bit more dominance than Boise State, in my opinion. Because, I mean, Boise State played really well in the game that CSU played them last. I mean, they shot over 50% from three.
That was crazy.
And like CSU, I mean, I thought that CSU played well, but not their best, and so I definitely think that CSU will be able to take it.
Honestly, if Wyoming were to have beat CSU in that game, I would have confidently taken Boise State for this one. But because CSU came out so strong, and honestly, it was closer in the end, but I would say they finished that game strong, I had to take CSU for this one. Not just because Madeline did, and I am upset that I am losing, but because I am tired of getting burned by taking the team that CSU is facing and then CSU coming out with it. So I am going to have faith in my school and take CSU for this one.
I think we're all on the same page here. I'm also going to be taking CSU. And although Boise is a phenomenal team, it's, for me, like Madeline talked about, CSU has a break. And we see how good that they do when they do not have to play in those back-to-back-to-back games, traveling all over the country. Those 2 losses to UNLV, don't forget, they came after 3 or 4 games, not in a row, but in very quick succession for CSU. CSU plays way better when they aren't tired, and I think it's obvious that winning this game for CSU would give them so much motivation going into the Mountain West tournament, and I think this is a phenomenal game. And even if you don't care about CSU or Boise, you should be watching this game. And now let's move on to our second matchup of tonight's show, which is a Mountain West battle going on right now where the SDSU Aztecs are taking on the Wyoming Cowboys up in Laramie. This one is a huge one when it comes to NCAA tournament projections. So before we take a look at how things are going so far, who do you guys think will come out on top in this one?
I'm going to keep this quick and pretty much just say it how it is, but I definitely have Wyoming on top for this one. Wyoming is undefeated at home right now. SDSU SDSU just had a win, but it was against San Jose State. I mean, they might as well have played a D3 school. San Jose State is terrible. They're not coming off a ton of momentum, and I just think that SDSU is not very strong on the road.
No, I agree. That's exactly what I was going to say. Not only is Wyoming strong at home, we saw that when we went there personally, but SDSU proves to be so weak on the road time and time again. They proved that in Moby. And so for that reason, I have to take Wyoming. Not that I want Wyoming to win in any way whatsoever,
I don't want either,
but I have to take them for this one.
Listen, for me, I'm going to the opposite. I'm taking San Diego State, and this is why. San Diego State has everything to play for. They're one of those bubble teams that could potentially see their way out of the big dance of March Madness. Yeah. They're fighting for every tooth and nail right now. Wyoming's a shoo-in. Wyoming's going to be in March Madness no matter what. Also, San Diego State have won 6 of their last 7, with their only loss coming to a 1-point L in Boise.
But keep in mind, that loss
unfortunately, guys, that is all we have time for. I am so sorry to cut you off, but be sure to tune in tomorrow for your regularly scheduled Tuesday night sports show. Thanks, and hopefully we have some good news from the hardwood to report for you all come next week. We'll see you soon.